Small to Vast, from I-16 to Me-262, this is a full catalog examination of every major fighter aircraft that defined air combat in the Second World War, in complete operational and technical context. Supermarine Spitfire Mk-I through Mk-9. The Supermarine Spitfire was the primary British single-seat interceptor of the Second World War. Its battlefield role was air superiority and homeland defense. It was conceived as a high-performance monoplane capable of rapid climb and tight maneuvering. The aircraft featured an all-metal stressed skin airframe. Its elliptical wing was designed to reduce induced drag while preserving structural strength. Early variants were powered by the Rolls-Royce Merlin inline engine, delivering smooth power and high-altitude performance. Armament evolved rapidly. The Mk-I carried 8.303 Browning machine guns. Later versions incorporated 20mm Hispano cannons combined with machine guns to increase lethality against armored aircraft. The Spitfire's primary strength was maneuverability. Its turn radius and roll response allowed British pilots to engage on favorable terms against early German fighters. Its visibility and cockpit ergonomics also contributed to pilot effectiveness. Limitations were present. Early Spitfires had limited range, restricting operational endurance. Maintenance was complex due to tight engine tolerances and specialized wing construction. The Spitfire was used extensively over Britain, Western Europe, North Africa, and the Mediterranean. It served as both interceptor and escort depending on theater and variant. By the Mk-9, it was adapted specifically to counter the Focke-Wulf FW-190. Operational insight defines its legacy. The Spitfire was never withdrawn or replaced during the war. Instead, it evolved continuously, maintaining frontline relevance from 1939 to 1945. Messerschmitt Bf 109E through G. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 was the backbone of German fighter forces. Its role was interceptor, escort, and air superiority fighter. It was designed for speed, climb, and concentrated firepower. The airframe was compact and lightweight. It used a narrow-track landing gear mounted to the fuselage, reducing wing stress but increasing ground handling difficulty. The aircraft was powered by Daimler-Benz inverted V12 engines optimized for fuel injection. Armament varied by model. Early Emil variants carried wing-mounted cannons and fuselage machine guns. Later Gustav models centralized heavier armament around the engine for improved accuracy. Strengths centered on climb rate and acceleration. The Bf 109 could dictate vertical engagements. Its fuel-injected engine allowed negative G maneuvers unavailable to carbureted opponents. Its limitations were operational. Short-range restricted escort capability. The landing gear caused high accident rates among inexperienced pilots. The Bf 109 served on every German front. It fought over Poland, France, Britain, the Soviet Union, and North Africa. It remained in production throughout the war due to industrial familiarity. One operational fact stands out. Despite newer designs, the Bf 109 accounted for the majority of German fighter victories. Its success was tied as much to pilot training as to design. Mitsubishi A6M0 Model 21 and Model 52. The Mitsubishi A6M0 was the Imperial Japanese Navy's primary carrier-based fighter. Its role was long-range escort and fleet air defense. It was engineered around extreme weight reduction. The Zero used a lightweight aluminum structure. It omitted armor protection and self-sealing fuel tanks. This allowed exceptional range and maneuverability at the cost of survivability. Armament consisted of two 20mm cannons and two machine guns. This combination provided high initial lethality. However, limited ammunition supply constrained sustained combat. The Zero's greatest strength was agility. It outturned nearly every Allied fighter in the early war. Its long range enabled strikes deep into enemy territory. Its weaknesses became apparent by 1943. Lack of armor made it vulnerable to concentrated fire. Structural limits prevented high-speed diving maneuvers. The Zero was used across the Pacific and Southeast Asia. It dominated early campaigns in the Philippines, Malaya, and the Dutch East Indies. Later, it was increasingly outclassed by newer Allied designs. A critical operational insight defines the Zero. Its design reflected pre-war doctrine emphasizing pilot skill over protection. That doctrine became unsustainable as attrition increased. Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. The Curtiss P-40 Warhawk was a widely deployed American fighter. Its role included interception, ground attack, and escort. It was derived from earlier Curtiss designs adapted for wartime urgency. The P-40 used an Allison V1710 inline engine. It lacked a turbo-supercharger, limiting high-altitude performance. The airframe was rugged and straightforward. Armament varied by version. Most carried 6.50 caliber machine guns. This provided heavy firepower effective against aircraft and ground targets. Strengths lay in durability. The P-40 could absorb significant damage. It performed well at low and medium altitudes. Limitations were pronounced at altitude. It could not compete with advanced interceptors above 15,000 feet. Climb rate was inferior to contemporaries. The P-40 served in multiple theaters. It fought in China, North Africa, the Pacific, and the Soviet Union. It was especially effective in the hands of experienced pilots. One historical insight remains central. The P-40 was not the best fighter of the war, but it was available when nothing else was. Focke-Wulf FW-190A and D series. The Focke-Wulf FW-190 was Germany's second major single-seat fighter of the war. Its battlefield role was air superiority, bomber interception, and ground attack. It was designed to complement and eventually surpass the Bf-109. The aircraft used a radial BMW 801 engine in its early variants. This provided exceptional low and medium altitude performance. The airframe emphasized strength, ease of maintenance, and pilot protection. Armament was heavy by contemporary standards. The FW-190A series carried multiple 20mm cannons and machine guns. This made it particularly lethal against Allied bombers. Strengths were immediate and pronounced. Roll rate was superior to nearly all opponents. Firepower concentration allowed short, decisive firing passes. Limitations appeared at altitude. The radial engine lost effectiveness above bomber cruising heights. This led to the development of the inline-powered FW-190D series. The FW-190 saw extensive service over Western Europe and the Eastern Front. It became the primary Luftwaffe interceptor during the defense of Germany. Ground attack variants were heavily used in close support roles. One operational insight defines the aircraft. The FW-190 shocked Allied pilots on its introduction. It forced immediate tactical and technical adaptation. North American P-51 Mustang. The North American P-51 Mustang was the definitive long-range escort fighter of the war. Its role was bomber escort, air superiority, and interdiction. It was engineered around efficiency and endurance. Early models used Allison engines with limited altitude capability. The introduction of the Rolls-Royce Merlin transformed the aircraft. High-altitude performance and range increased dramatically. The Mustang featured laminar flow wings. This reduced drag and improved cruise efficiency. Internal fuel capacity was supplemented by external drop tanks. Armament consisted of 6.50 caliber machine guns. This provided reliable, sustained firepower. It was effective against fighters and bombers alike. The P-51's greatest strength was range. It could escort bombers from England to Berlin and back. This fundamentally altered the air war over Europe. Limitations were minimal by late war standards. The aircraft required experienced pilots to exploit its full capability. Early versions were vulnerable without proper escort doctrine. The Mustang operated primarily in the European theater. It also saw service in the Pacific late in the war. Its impact was strategic rather than tactical alone. One operational fact is decisive. The P-51 did not merely fight the Luftwaffe. It enabled its systematic destruction. Yakovlev Yak-3. The Yakovlev Yak-3 was a late-war Soviet frontline fighter. Its role was low-altitude air superiority. It was designed for simplicity, speed, and close-range combat. The Yak-3 emphasized weight reduction. It used mixed construction with wood and metal. The Klima VK-105 engine provided strong low-altitude performance. Armament was modest, typically one 20mm cannon and 2 machine guns. This reflected Soviet emphasis on maneuver combat. Strengths were clear. The Yak-3 had excellent acceleration and turn performance. It dominated dogfights below 15,000 feet. Limitations included range and high-altitude capability. It was not suited for long escort missions. Operational endurance was limited. The Yak-3 entered service in 1944. It saw extensive combat on the Eastern Front. German pilots were instructed to avoid engagement with it at low altitude. One operational insight stands out. The Yak-3 represented mature Soviet fighter doctrine. It was built for the specific conditions of the Eastern Front. Messerschmitt Me-262U-18. The Messerschmitt Me-262 was the world's first operational jet fighter. Its role was interceptor. It represented a fundamental break from piston engine aviation. The aircraft was powered by twin Junkers Jumo 004 turbojet engines. These provided unprecedented speed. The airframe was aerodynamically advanced but structurally conservative. Armament consisted of 430 million Malawian kwacha's 108 cannons. This firepower was devastating against bombers. Short firing windows were sufficient for destruction. The Me-262's strength was speed. Allied fighters could not catch it in level flight. It redefined interception tactics. Limitations were severe. Engines were unreliable and short-lived. Takeoff and landing phases were highly vulnerable. The Me-262 entered combat in 1944. Numbers were limited by fuel shortages and production constraints. Its strategic impact was therefore contained. One historical fact defines the Me-262. It arrived too late and in too few numbers. But it marked the future of air combat. World War II fighter aircraft evolved at an unmatched pace. Designs shifted from fabric-covered monoplanes to jet-powered interceptors within a single conflict. Each aircraft reflected national doctrine, industrial capacity, and battlefield necessity. Fighter aviation shaped the outcome of the war in the air and on the ground. It determined bomber survival, battlefield mobility, and strategic reach. The legacy of these aircraft defined post-war military aviation.